Welcome to the web show on AmericanSportsNet.com. I'm Matt Lincoln. Today we're unveiling numbers 40 through 31 of our Super Bowl 50. As the NFL celebrates the 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl, we are counting down the 50 best NFL players from the American Sports Network conferences. We started with a list of 100 nominees and took them to experts, former players, agents, and media members to narrow the list down to the best 50. Then we decided to let you, the fans, decide the order through an online vote. Every Friday this month, we will unveil 10 of the Super Bowl 50, with the final 10 announced the week of Super Bowl 50, culminating on Friday, February 5th. To watch our video unveiling numbers 50 through 41, click below. Now, let's see the next 10. Number 40, Danny Copeland, strong safety from Eastern Kentucky, only had a 5-year career but started Super Bowl 26 versus the Bills for the Redskins and had a big touchdown or a game-winning fumble recovery against hated Dallas back in 1992. Number 39, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, still going strong, 8 years in the league out of Tennessee State, a first-round draft pick, lost Super Bowl 43 as a member of the Arizona Cardinals, and then Super Bowl 48 for the Denver Broncos. 308 tackles, 23 interceptions in his career. Number 38, Jermon Bushrod, offensive tackle from Towson, the pride of King George, Virginia. Some huge years in New Orleans, won Super Bowl 44, part of the unit that protected Drew Brees. Number 37, Brian Westbrook, the running back out of Villanova. Some huge years for the Eagles. He's on one of the best Eagles of all time, the Eagles Hall of Famer, over 10,000 rushing plus receiving yards and 71 touchdowns. Number 36, Mike Shanahan, two-time Super Bowl winning coach for the Denver Broncos out of Eastern Illinois, was a quarterback there, but in 20 years as a head coach has won 178 games. Number 35, Jim Youngblood, Tennessee Tech linebacker, had 10 great years for the Los Angeles Rams, lost Super Bowl 14, but elected to the 79 Pro Bowl, had 476 tackles at Tennessee Tech. Wow. Number 34, Gary Fensick, safety out of Yale, 12 years in the league from 1976 to 1987, won Super Bowl 20 as a member of the Bears against New England, had his whole career in Chicago, was also in the Super Bowl Shuffle, had his own verse. Number 33, Chris Clark, offensive tackle out of Southern Miss, played for the Vikings, the Broncos, and the Texans, was a member of the losing Super Bowl team for the Broncos in Super Bowl 48. Number 32, Mike Adams, safety out of Delaware, still in the league and still going strong after getting in the league in 2004, played for the Niners, the Browns, the Broncos, and the Colts, was also a member of the losing Super Bowl team with the Broncos against the Seahawks, two-time Pro Bowler. Number 31, Sean Payton. What a career he had as a quarterback at Eastern Illinois, threw for over 10,000 yards, but since has become one of the top NFL coaches in the game the last 10 years with the Saints, bringing them a Super Bowl, number 44. 87 wins in his career. So that's the next 10, 40 through 31 on our Super Bowl 40. To break down the next 10, we now welcome Russ Baxter from ProFootballGuru.com. So Russ, what do you think about numbers 40 through 31 on our Super Bowl?
Well, a lot of great names, and it's hard to obviously ignore the two elephants in the room, and I mean that in a positive way, in Mike Shanahan and Sean Payton, Super Bowl winning head coaches. Something that some people might not realize, Sean Payton, who was part of the Bears replacement team during the 1987 strike, a quarterback for them. But you look at those two men, back-to-back Super Bowl wins for Mike Shanahan with the Broncos, Super Bowl 32 and 33. Also the offensive coordinator when Steve Young and the 49ers won the Super Bowl 29 in 1994. Sean Payton, of course, bringing glory to a team and a franchise that hadn't seen much. Remember, it took 21 years for the Saints to have a winning season. Then they finally won the Super Bowl back in 2009, beating the Colts down in South Florida. So those are kind of the two that really jump out. You see Brian Westbrook on the list, and obviously those years with the Philadelphia Eagles. Me being old school, I see Jim Youngblood on there. Not Jack Youngblood, Jim Youngblood, a linebacker with the Los Angeles Rams. By the way, it kind of sounds funny to talk about Los Angeles Rams again. as they were in Super Bowl 14 when they lost to the Steelers 31-19 at the Rose Bowl. One of the best Super Bowls a lot of people don't talk about. 6 lead changes, Terry Bradshaw to John Stallworth, a couple times in the fourth quarter there. But I think of all my names that you've given me here, and there's a lot of good ones for the 10. The guy that to me is very, very intriguing is Mike Adams, the DB from Delaware, who's been in the league for more than 10 years. Played in the Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos just a couple of years ago, Super Bowl 48, but has really had some dynamite seasons with the Indianapolis Colts, a Pro Bowler, as their strong safety. And again, once again, you see an example of somebody from a smaller school coming in this league, having great success, not necessarily a high draft choice, the desire, the will, the work ethic to get it done. And this is a guy who's jumped around the league for more than a decade, but has really found a home in Indianapolis.
So the fans have put these guys in order. I wanted to break down, you said Mike Adams, another currently active cornerback is Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. DRC is number 39, Adams is 32 on this list. Are those two guys where they should be? Would you have them in that order on this list?
I think you could probably move up Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie maybe a few spots. But, again, you look at Mike Adams' career and the perseverance of his career, and I think I like him at that spot. You could maybe move DRC up 3 or 4 spots. That could even almost so much be nitpicking. The thing about Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, he's played on a share of successful teams, but he's played on a lot of teams for being in a guy who's been in this league a very brief time. He's a former first-round draft choice, and yet he's kind of bounced around the league, a lot of times being obviously traded, but also free agency as well. Had a very, very good year for a very, very bad Giants defense when he was healthy. But unfortunately, the Giants, the worst-ranked defense in the league this year, the worst-ranked pass defense in the league, and that was despite a pretty solid year from Cromartie.
I have another bone to pick with our fans of the game because you brought up the two coaches who both played quarterback at Eastern Illinois, Sean Payton and Mike Shanahan. Shanahan is number 36, Payton is number 31. Shanahan with his 2 Super Bowls, should he be higher on the list than Payton and his 1?
Probably, man. I don't know what they took into account when they were picking this, but again, sometimes when you get into these lists, especially these days, the more prominent name, the more recent name, a lot of times seems to take center stage. You think about it, it was more than 10 years later that Sean Payton won the Super Bowl after Mike Shanahan had already won 2 Super Bowls. Okay, so listen, Mike Shanahan's last stop in Washington, he led the Redskins to the playoffs in 2012. It didn't necessarily end well there. Sean Payton's been the head coach of the New Orleans Saints for now 10 years, going on 11. Seems like they're going to get a new deal done with him as well. I think it's more of a case of being a name you recognize a little more, who's still head coaching in the league. I don't know if it's so much a knock on Shanahan, but I think sometimes there's that immediacy of the moment that we kind of get caught up in.
And Payton's playing career, at least for Eastern Illinois, was a little bit better than Shanahan's. I also want to bring up one more point. 3 guys on this list all played on the same team. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, Chris Clark, and Mike Adams were all on that 2013 Broncos team that got smoked in the Super Bowl by the Seahawks. Does that team go down, even in their huge defeat in the final game, go down as one of the best teams that didn't win the big game at the end?
I think it goes down as, arguably the best offense for one season. They scored 606 points. They set an NFL record for touchdowns. Peyton Manning, obviously, with the 55 touchdown passes. But somehow it was fitting, the first play of the game when the ball went sailing out of the end zone, right over the top of Peyton Manning, because it seemed like the Broncos were in over their heads for the rest of the day.
And then you brought up Jim Youngblood. Just one more question on him. Put us into some context about how great that LA Rams defense was.
Oh, loaded. And the year they went, it was funny. The Rams won 7 straight division titles from 1973 to 79. That ties the record, which the Patriots just tied this year, 7 straight division titles. And those Rams defenses in the 70s, now this was a little past the days of Merlin Olsen retiring, but you had a Hall of Famer there like Jack Youngblood. You had Hacksaw Reynolds, inside linebacker, who was terrific. Fred Dreyer, who some people know from his television days, but was a terrific defensive end in the NFL. Those teams, those defenses for the Rams were really tough. A lot of times those Rams fell short of the Super Bowl. They only got to one in the 70s because they were always playing musical chairs with their quarterbacks. They had Pat Hayden. Pat Hayden got hurt the year of the Super Bowl. They had Vince Ferragamo. Remember in 1977, for the first 4 games of the year, they had Joe Namath before he retired. They were constantly changing. But James Harris, take your pick. There was no stability at quarterback. There was a lot of stability at defense, and Jim Youngblood was one of the good players on that unit.
Russ Baxter from ProFootballGuru.com. Great stuff. Thank you very much. We'll unveil numbers 30 through 21 next Friday of our Super Bowl 50.